and slaughter everything, even livestock.
And children.
No, I'm not justifying. I'm saying, what I'm saying is, you've got to be consistent.
Let me just say one thing.
Can I finish my point? All I'm saying is, you've got to be consistent. If you're applying the standard to Muhammad, apply it to all of the prophets.
Absolutely.
You'll find that you won't have anyone left.
No, but I still want to know
when
what
Jesus said, bring my enemies before me and slay them.
Where's the miracle?
Slay them.
Where's the miracle?
Jesus did not do any miracles.
No, hold on.
Did Jesus do any miracles?
Of course he did. He
What did he say? He said, with the finger of God. That's what he said. Of mine own self, I can do nothing.
I can understand why.
Is that what he said?
I can understand why the Muslim people need a prophet.
Of my own self, I can do nothing.
On what basis you say
if
that?
he says he can do nothing.
Hello there.
I'm just saying that because it's
of mine own self.
No, but that's not reasoning, is it?
The whole world is built on love, and Islam there's no love.
Where is the love in where's the love in Christianity when they bomb the other nations? Yeah, you're going to use the same. Let's be consistent.
What the Crusades is love.
Yeah, and every time you agree that the Bible is obviously telling you this something worse, not love.
Crusades, you know about it.
But why?
Was that love?
Why did they have? Why did they have the Crusades?
They went.
Why? No, why?
They went from all over Europe to foreign lands to kill, and they slaughtered everybody, man, woman, and child.
Actually, Christianity is not all about love. You got to be consistent and apply it. Even Jesus, what will he do in the second coming?
Bring my enemies before me and slay them.
Do you know what he's going to do when he comes back?
Yeah, please tell us.
Justice.
And what does that involve? Wait, does that involve violence?
Bring my enemies before me.
Does it involve violence?
Well, I don't know. I'm not Jesus.
But you just said you know about Christianity.
I do know.
So you don't know about Christianity, you don't know about Islam, but you want to have an opinion. Wow.
Jesus said, bring my enemies before me and slay them.
You know what?
You know what the worst thing about Islam is?
Go on.
Is because all of these terrorist attacks, and where are the imams getting up and saying it's wrong?
Okay.
You know, they're all shut up.
How do you know they're shut up? Have you checked? Have you asked an imam?
Wait a minute.
Have you actually asked an imam if they agree with it? You see, you're just, it's subjectivity.
Not long ago.
And did you ask him if he supports
Let me
it?
ask you a question.
No, of course
Of course not.
Should I tell you why? Because Theresa May phoned him up and told him to come and talk.
Wait a minute.
So don't make excuses for unnecessary if you don't know.
Can you explain one thing to me? You think that this was all Muslim terrorists? In which world would any God, accept anybody into his heaven for killing innocent people?
Let me just ask. No, I'm doing exactly what you're doing. How many of you Muslims here? I can't stand it.
That's fine. Don't record her if she doesn't want to be.
Yeah, I don't believe
that's fine.
No, I don't want to be all over the
So, no, tell me.
This used to be a really good place to come to debate before the cameras came. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, wait a minute. You're saying Muslim.
No. I wanted to ask a question.
The one guy that they caught in France at the airport, he had alcohol and drug in his blood. Is he a Muslim?
Listen.
Do you really believe that?
Let me just say, all of this, I'm not talking about terrorism in Europe. I'm talking about ISIS soldiers going out raping and killing families.
Yeah, whom are they killing? They're killing Muslims. Who are they killing?
But you're saying they're not Muslims. So why aren't you out in the street?
Wait. You got to realize. But do we agree with it? Do we support them? That's the question.
Was bombing. Were you out in the street marching as a Christian? Were you out? I didn't see you. I didn't see anybody marching when the IRA was slaughtering people.
Yes.
I didn't see any marching. There was never one.
Now you're justifying.
So now
you're inaction.
No, he's not justifying it. He's telling you to be consistent.
You're inaction.
I think he's telling you to be consistent.
You should be out there defending those women and children that are dying.
Exactly. I would defend them.
And
you know
all
why?
non-Muslims are looking at this and seeing it.
No God can ever accept anybody who kills innocent men, women, and children.
So why aren't you out doing something about it then?
Why is that our problem if someone else
It's not your problem. It is your problem because you're Muslim.
Wait. When was the last time you actually criticized the American and the European? When was the last time you criticized the Americans and the Europeans who bombed the civilians in these Muslim countries? When was the last time you did that?
Come on.
I'm telling you to be consistent. That's all. I condemn terrorism, whether it's state terrorism or individual terrorism. I condemn it. Do you do the same?
No, what you're saying.
Do you do the same? Do you condemn the state terrorism of Israel, the state terrorism of the West? Do you condemn it? You don't want to answer that.
You always shut up speakers.
I'm giving you a chance to speak. Go on, speak.
No, what I'm saying is...
Do you condemn? My question is very simple. Do you condemn the state terrorism? Do you do that? Answer the question. Obviously, she doesn't want to.
Tell us what you want us to do.
I want you to get out and march.
Okay,
and show
march and do
no,
what?
wait.
Please.
I want you to get
What's
out.
it going to do?
Get out and march and then?
What is it going to achieve? What will it achieve? What will it achieve?
That's fine. Let her speak. She wants to speak.
If I go out and march, what will it achieve?
Have you finished?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Me, as a non-Muslim, are seeing ISIS rape, pillage the whole of the Middle East, and I'm watching all of you Muslims do nothing.
Do nothing.
And I think it is disgusting.
Okay, give me a gun. I will go and fight them.
Hold on. It's fine. Okay, I can see what
Fight.
I'm
talking about a pacifist movement.
Like what?
Like Martin
What do you suggest we do?
My hero. A pacifist
What do you want us
movement.
to
I see.
Get out and do something and
Like
stop
what?
sitting there.
Like what?
Wait. So you're saying if Hitler came and we just being pacifists, that would be okay in Europe, right? Come on, what pacifism are you? Just because you're a Christian.
About you to get up and march and say.
And then what will that do? What will that do? There were many marches against the ISIS here. Do you know that?
Do you know there
many
were
marches in England, in London. Yes, they did march. What happened? What happened? Nothing happened. There were nearly 1 million people who marched against the war in Iraq. Did anything happen? Nothing happened. They went on with it anyway, regardless. It was a false pretext of world.
You did.
You a news report, my dear. Calm down.
Oh dear.
How many Muslims marched?
One march.
How many marches do you need?
That was in December. There's been one 2 weeks ago.
Yes. How many do you need?
How many do you need? Could you please let us know?
The media will not show it.
I told you three fingers back
Because
to
people
yourself.
like you. People like you.
Six fingers. Yeah, go away.
Because people like
You're
you.
just trying to shut me down. You're trying to shut me down, man.
I will not argue with stupidity.
The work is being done. Not everybody can go out.
20 million Muslims marched.
Yeah.
That's why we're out here in the park doing it.
Well, she didn't know that actually. She didn't know that. That's a problem. She doesn't know what the Muslims do. And then she comes here and gives her opinions, regardless.
Let's see what she. Let's see how
You're
frustrated.
not seeing any activism.
Let's see what
We
she's
need
frustrated.
I just
activism.
showed you activism.
I'm here to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm here to listen
Go
to you.
talk to BBC.
I use Twitter,
Let's
I use YouTube,
That's
I use
nice.
Facebook, I use
That's
LinkedIn.
And you haven't seen anything yet. I'm surprised.
Listen to me.
No, I don't. Because, no, I don't.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why?
I know you, don't I?
I probably I don't know.
Yeah.
Why are you frustrated?
I'm frustrated because there's no action and people dying. When women and children are dying.
Okay.
And it's just ridiculous.
All right. So do you feel like there should be more action to prevent death?
No, I think there should be more action to help innocent people
Innocent
dying.
people dying. Okay. Can I tell you something though? I agree with you. Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think there should be more action for Muslims and non-Muslims. Yeah. We don't agree with what they're doing. First of all, as the brother rightly said, we don't agree with what they're doing. We will protect the rights and the honor of Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So I'm with you on that. There is no point of disagreement here, yeah? But I would like to say something as well. And you seem like a fair-minded person. There's a lot of people on you. That's why you're a bit maybe impassioned there. But let me tell you something, right? I was just recently looking into the case of Burma, yeah? You know, Burma is a country which is majority Buddhist country. 80% of people in Burma are Buddhist. There's a small group of people there called the Rohingya, yeah?
Yeah, I know.
Who are they?
Muslims have been persecuted.
Okay, so tell me something about the Rohingya.
Well, I don't know much about them.
That's the problem. Okay, you don't know much about them. Why? Because it's Buddhist terrorists doing it to Muslims, right? Now this doesn't fit the media narrative, does it?
Yeah, but you're pulling out a tiny
not tiny.
section.
It's not tiny.
So why? Okay.
No, hold on.
So
We're being fair to each other
why
now,
are
yeah?
Muslims killing Muslims? And let's just get down to the nitty-gritty.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Because
yeah?
you know,
That's
more
fine.
Muslims are killed by Muslims than anybody else.
That's because the population of Muslims in the world, the population of Muslims in the world is quite hefty. It's quite a big population. That's point one, right? So when you compare Muslims with Jews, for example, or Buddhists even, it's not a fair comparison because we're talking about a quarter of the world's population comparative to, let's say, with the Jewish example, less than 1% of the world's population.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you, why are Muslims killing Muslims?
They do so for a variety of different reasons.
We don't agree with
if
that.
you're Muslim, how can you justify killing?
We don't justify.
I think you're
That's
right.
the thing. We don't justify.
Right.
Why do you assume we justify?
Can you understand how
we don't need to make this into a debate. Let's make this into a discussion, right? Because I don't think here there's a point of shouting at each other. I don't think we disagree. I don't think we disagree, right? Your primary premise was that you don't like dead people. You don't like people being killed unjustly, yeah?
No, of course not.
You want people to stop dying unjustly in this world, right?
And that's what Jesus preaches.
Okay, fine. That's very nice, yeah? But I'll tell you the truth. If you're talking about Jesus and talk about Christianity, then we have to be also very fair and look at the broad scale of history, right? And if you're asking about why Muslims killed Muslims or why did Christians kill Christians, you know, you have Catholics and Protestants killing each other. It happens, right?
Yeah, but Catholics are not Christians.
Okay,
according to you.
Okay, that's fine, all right.
It's true. It's like saying Shia and Sunni.
No, it's not like saying.
It's not the same.
Okay, fine. So if you believe that, that's fine. That's your position. But I don't think it's the majority position, right? Here, what I'm going to say to you is this. We have to be consistent. Just because we're look at the raw data is what I'm saying, yeah? If we look at the raw data, we'll come to the conclusion. Like, let me give you an example. Just suicide bombing as one example, yeah? When I say suicide bombing, what does this woman here, what does she envisage? Someone like me, right? Let's be honest. Or this man here or whatever, like something inside of my, you know, and blow myself up, right? Because suicide bombing is almost synonymous with Islamic suicide bombing, isn't it? Would you agree with that?
Become,
if we look at the raw...
It originated in Japan from the kamikaze.
Nice one. If you look at the raw data, for example, there's a book written by Robert Pape, yeah? It's called Dying to Win. He analyzes from 1980 to 2005 all of the cases of suicide bombing. He said there's 315 cases of suicide bombing on the international level. And he said that the number one culprits of this were the Tamil Tigers, with 75 cases of 315. Then there's a range of other people, then the Islamic suicide bombing comes into play. Yeah, Tamil Tigers are not Muslim, just for
the kamikazes.
Now the point is, when was the last time you put on BBC and you saw Tamil Tigers, or whatever it is, Channel 4, you saw Tamil Tigers, whatever it is.
That's why you don't see our matches then.
Exactly.
Alright, no, hold on. Use the internet, you're like me here. We have something in common. Go online. When was the last time you saw Tamil Tiger blows himself up? When was the last time you saw a headline like that? The reason why you're not aware of these things that are happening in the world is because you have not been made aware. And that's why in communication theory in the 1930s, when I talk about TV, one scholar of communication theory said that TV doesn't tell you what to think, but it does tell you what to think about. And that's what you have to remember. I'm not talking about TV. The media as a complex, generally, that's what it's done. If you look at this is what my point is here today. My thesis is as follows. If you look at the raw data of things like suicide bombing, of things like terrorism, you'll find that comparative to their population, Muslims do not score overwhelmingly, disparately, you know, as a ratio, higher than any other faith group. In fact, Noam Chomsky has written many books about this. His point is that if we consider state terrorism, then the United States of America will be the global world leader. Higher than ISIS, by the way. Higher than ISIS. The only one that can beat IS in barbarism and cruelty and all these things is the US itself.
But can I just say something?
Go ahead.
They're not going out killing Christians, though, are they?
Who?
The America.
Well, they are Christians, a lot of them themselves.
No, but what I'm saying, that they're not going out and killing fellow Christians.
Oh, Vietnamese people.
But Muslims are
actually,
going out
because they're not
killing fellow
Muslims.
Muslims.
Look, I'll tell you something, right?
But I think you don't want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I do want to hear it. I agree with you. Look, let me tell you something. I agree with you. Yeah? Oh, here we go. Yes, yes. Muslims are doing the wrong thing by killing other Muslims. How do we stop it?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do we stop it?
Here's the honest truth. Me and you are people here standing in Speaker's Corner on a nice sunny day, which is not usually the case in London, yeah? Right? Me and you can do limited things. I know you're frustrated. You see on, let's say, the internet.
No, but I just fed up of that.
I know you are. I know you are.
Ridiculous.
But I want you to be as fed up of that as you are of the Rohingya being demolished in Burma.
But we're not talking about the Rohingya.
Why not? That's the problem.
I'm talking about the fact that we have the mass slaughter of Muslims by Muslims.
Okay, I agree with that point.
And something's got to be done because people are too complacent.
So what do you think we should do?
I don't know. I'm not a Muslim.
Okay, I'll tell you what we can do.
I'm asking you what
we can do. We can only educate. That's our limitation.
How can you do that?
We're doing it here. You're coming to the wrong people here. Do you know who you should have gone to, right? You should have gone to the people that were on the cafeterias there, smoking shisha and drinking coffee, not doing anything about it. You're coming to the people who are actually doing the only thing they can do, which is trying to educate people about terrorism, about Islam.
But any military might go to the
it's a community.
I agree with you. I don't disagree with you.
Taking the message and taking it into the community, the Muslim community.
Can I say something else, Lizzie? Listen, let me tell you another point, right? You might not want to hear this, I don't know. But there's another, okay, the Muslims are to blame. I'll be the first one to say that. The Muslims are to blame for many of the problems. Point one. In fact, most of our problems are because of the Muslims themselves. I'll say most of them, yes.
Let me shake you.
No, I'm not going to shake hands. for Islamic reasons, yeah?
Yeah, okay.
No disrespect.
No, don't worry.
That's right. Number one, most of the problems are from Muslims themselves. That's why in the Quran it says Allah does not change a condition of a people until they change the conditions of themselves. So we believe that the reason, I personally will tell you here, the reason why you have so much... Why are you going?
This man is taking it.
Oh, okay. The reason why, okay, most of these things are happening in the Muslim world is because the Muslims themselves have not internalized Islam. That's the problem.
What do you mean internalized?
Internalized, they're not embodying it, they don't understand it. A lot of them, Muslims, are ignorant. And a lot of them are desperate. So they have problems. And we're not justifying it.
Can I just say one thing?
They're the problem.
I've been coming for years, and you were the most honest and open Muslim I spoke to.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's very refreshing.
No, I'm happy you say that because it shows
but continue that, please.
Okay, let me tell you another point, right? I'll say the truth. Yes, the Muslims are number one. If you had a blame list, I put number one, Muslims are to blame. Why? Because of their nationalism, of their hating each other, racism, of their cultural baggage that they have, the problems that they have, not understanding their religion. There need to be a reform. Listen, but I'm not saying within the religion, I'm saying within the Muslims, right? Muslims, Muslims need to go back to Islam, okay, and go back to it. That's number one. Point two here, I believe that the West has something to do with it. Now, I'm not going to blame the West all the time, but I'll say, look, the truth is, if you look at the colonial, like, 1600s, 17th century, up until the 20th century, 1900, 20th century, this was a period of colonialism. Now, you might not realize this, but...
Yeah, but we had the Ottoman, it was exactly the same.
Yeah,
so we're both guilty of these things.
First of all, let's talk about the majority of Muslims, and this might be something that might shock you, right? Especially in the late 1900s and in the 20th century, the majority of Muslims were not in the Ottoman Empire, they were in the British Empire. Did you know that? They were part of India and Pakistan, all these countries that the British Empire had colonized. So the majority of Muslims were not under Ottoman rule. In the 1900s, the majority of Muslims were under British rule. Point one. Point two, you have to understand, if you look at a world map today, you ask why are Muslims killing each other? I'll tell you the reason. Okay? Look at Syria, for example. It's one of the most religiously diverse countries from the Muslim world.
It's practically bordering on.
Do you know what's happening in Syria today? Happened in Lebanon already. In the 1980s, there was a 10-year war in Lebanon. Why? Because when the colonial master drew the lines, when they said, okay, this is going to be Syria, this is going to be Lebanon, what they did is they intentionally put opposing factions in the same country, such that they would have to dispute over sovereignty, who's going to be in charge. And that has continued to happen both in Lebanon and Syria. That's why you'll find most conflict in that region. And Iraq is something else. It was the lines were kind of already drawn, but something similar happened in Iraq.
So let's get back to what you can do.
Yes.
Because this is history. Something's got to be done now. Because really, as Europeans, we feel like we're under attack. And the thing is, it's brutal.
Okay.
It's brutal. And yeah, you can say that we're attacking you in Syria. But the thing is, Europe, well, luckily we're not going to be in Europe anymore. Afterwards, woohoo, bring it on.
Every Friday
after this, as far as we're concerned, we're open. We let people have mosques. We let everybody have open religion.
Yeah.
Everybody can do their religion the way they want to. And now it's like slam.
Yeah.
We're letting all of these refugees. No problem. We're Christians. This is what we do.
Not
and
all
now
of you guys
all
are
of a sudden, we're faced with
terrorism. Okay, let me tell you something.
What are we supposed to do?
Let me tell you what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
If you ask the question, how comes of all of the European countries, if you look at the European countries, the ones that are in the EU, do you want me to give you, because I've done actually research on this, so I'm going to give you the findings right here and right now, If you look at the European countries, things like the United Kingdom, obviously France, these countries with a large Muslim population, you'll find that terrorism usually happens in those countries, most disparately or comparatively to other European nations. Why?
Can I just say something?
Go on.
To stop you,
yeah.
Do you think it's possible that this, I don't know, it's from the Quran or Hadith, about if you die as a martyr, you're going to get all these virgins?
Yeah.
Where's that come from?
No, hold on, let me tell you. You're right. What they do is this faction that has always been part of the Islamic kind of